Moving on then to soccer, a presentation by Chief Soccer. As you guys know, we contracted out our soccer program a couple of years ago. Lisa has sent y'all an email about Blue Springs, and we sent you an email. Chief Soccer gave us a presentation to me that I emailed out to them. Do you have hard copies? Okay. But I will turn it over to you gentlemen.
I'm not sure who needs to receive one of these.
Just
There's an extra one. It's
a little bit different.
There's just a few amendments to the presentation that was emailed out. Firstly, my name is Neil McNabb. I'm Executive Director for the Chiefs Football Club, and in the fall, this past fall, we established CFC Snellville. We have about 100 kids playing, which you guys know. You've seen some of them because you've recognized some of the children in your city council meetings or the proclamations, which we thank you for. And I'd like to thank you for your time and letting us come and present to you this evening. I'll try to keep it very brief. Like I said, we've got about 100 children playing soccer, mostly made up of City of Snellville or Gwinnett County residents that go to the South Gwinnett cluster of schools and Shiloh cluster and beyond. A large number playing in this community. I don't expect everybody to go through the whole presentation or read through it right now, but what we're looking for today, I wanted to give you a brief update of where we were as a group, and then ask for you guys to consider something as we move forward. We have been heavily involved in the community. Part of our mission is to go out to try and spread our knowledge and love of the sport of soccer. We've already attended Gray Snell Middle School and Snellville Middle School and taken over the PE block in conjunction with the PE staff at the schools. We went in with a bunch of coaches and we ran the PE lessons for a number of days so that we got to see all the students. We took in a bunch of equipment, donated our time, and shared our love of soccer. We don't expect all the kids to come out and play soccer, but we express to them that they should be active and healthy and be involved in something. We've been involved with the high school program. We ran a preparatory camp for them this past fall. The boys program actually had their best season that they've had in a number of years. A number of those children playing within the club also. Moving forward, we will be attending the elementary schools to do the same PE programs as well, and then we will look to establish after-school programs at the elementary school level. Part of the presentation that you guys can read later is a community proposal where we would actually offer something at every level in every school within the cluster. We believe this is a one-of-a-type program that hasn't been implemented anywhere else, but it would really bring club and school together. Moving forward into the fall, we're actually going to be partnering with an occupational therapist group to provide soccer for children with special needs. We've spoken with US Youth Soccer and been given the green light to move forward with that. We would provide a soccer program adaptive to the children with special needs, and the occupational therapist group will provide us with therapists on site each week. We're working with the high school right now, Principal Hunter, and we'll be working with the boys and girls soccer programs to come out and be our coaches and mentors for those students. So we're heavily involved in the community. We've got a lot of kids that live in this community that love soccer, and we're trying to expand on that. Where we need City Council's help is that we understand that in the last year, the recreational programs were outsourced, and soccer was outsourced to Blue Springs Youth Soccer. I know Lisa's presented numbers to you guys, and obviously that program has done well, and we don't expect there to be a change in the arrangement with Blue Springs because it looked like the program was running at a profit, revenue was being generated, and whatnot. So what we would ask you guys for is the consideration that with our additional numbers playing out of Briscoe Park would create additional revenue for the city, which is shown in the presentation. Just the second page in gives you a projected estimate of the numbers and the type of revenue that we could utilize that we could generate over the next couple of years. We've already been involved and have a working relationship with the Parks and Rec department. We've already hosted a number of soccer camps at Briscoe Park over the last 2 years. Right now, the contract agreement basically has a non-compete clause so that only one league can operate, so that there's not two competing leagues in the same park. We believe our programs are slightly different, but we also believe that two leagues could operate harmoniously on the same fields, and then that would come down to a logistical issue between Blue Springs, Lisa, and Chiefs Football Club. So we ask that when you, that contract is up for renewal on August 1st, we ask that you consider that amendment to allow for our teams to operate out of Briscoe Park and also generate additional revenue for the city of Snellville and the Parks and Rec department.
So where are your games played now?
We're actually, the home games are being played out in Pleasantdale Park, which is located in DeKalb County.
And so you're asking the city not for a contract necessarily, but for field rental for your games? For games and practice, or would games suffice?
Games and practice would be ideal if the logistics could be worked out. But at this point, families are driving out of the community to find game space. We actually have rented Lenora Park football field this spring, which is been a nice green field, but it is a football field. There's no soccer equipment or goals out there. Ideally, we would like to see practices and games, but at this point, we'd be open to any and all solutions that City Council and the Parks and Rec Department can provide to help facilitate, even if it's a transitional period, to have the community members play in their community park.
Is there any crossover between people, with the children playing in your league and also playing in Blue Springs? Are there children playing in both leagues?
I'm not going to say that there aren't some. There may be the odd one, but it's not supposed to happen. Once you're registered with one, you're supposed to be one or the other. Although the majority of our teams right now would be considered traveling teams, and the majority of the Blue Spring teams playing out of there right now are recreational based, a lot of younger children. I looked at their numbers, and it looked like there was a large pool of U5, U6, U7, and U8 children playing. Based upon the field layout, you can see that there's a number of smaller size fields there. The majority of our children currently playing are 9 years old and up. We anticipate that in the future, I'm sure Blue Springs wants to offer those types of programs as well. We'd like to be able to offer the programs for the 3 and 4 year olds too, but we do believe that working out the logistics with Parks and Rec, that there's a way that we can all work together and have the largest number of community players playing in the park.
Can the fields take that extra activity?
It really would come down to logistics, and we'd have to see what the needs are.
Can you?
No, I mean as far as the field surviving. There's a lot of soccer.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that was going to be my question, kind of. I understand the revenue generation
Yeah,
part of it.
absolutely.
I understand that, but I also understand the upkeep maintenance side of it too. If we're trading one for the other, I don't know that it's from just strictly a revenue generation tool. I don't know. I mean, we need to look at that.
I agree, and along that point, we believe right now that there is on the park any field left empty entices or is open for open play, whether that's allowed or not allowed. There is the possibility that currently on the field there's a lot, if it's not being utilized to its fullest, that there is a lot of open play that go on, and unsanctioned play can do more damage, especially if it is adults, than young children playing on the field in it's Parks and Rec sponsored event. Just to keep that into consideration as well.
Any other questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving on then to the Transportation Investment Act. Mr. Davis, you had a meeting today?
Actually, I didn't, but I sent Jason.
Oh.
I did, but I'm taking a class this week. we had a meeting with the county team today for the TIA. The preliminary list that we had sent over there, they had come back and put together some preliminary list of their own. The work we were contemplating over on Ronald Reagan at Tree Lane was the number 2 project on their list. The pass-through under 78 did not make the list at all.
What was number 1?
It was another county road project, and I can't think of the name of it.
So wait, let me clarify, not the continuous flow, but the tunnel.
The tunnel, the tunnel, yeah. The CFI is still on the deal, don't worry about that. So we are now going through, council had expressed us, they want us to look at focusing our TIA money, if there is any, on the town center. So, given what we found out today, we're going through our list of potential projects that would relate to the town center area and see what we might do other than the pass-through under the road down there. There are some other options that we can look at in terms of transportation enhancements to streetscape and things in the town center area. Maybe some additional connections internally that would make it a long-term a better site for us to get the new town center moving.
Let me ask you a question. I'm a little bit confused, and that's not really new for me. The tunnel under 78 was never really a county. It was supposed to be a city, $2 million city project, so it wouldn't have been on their list, would it?
It would not have been on their list.
Right.
But
so,
we were also not looking at doing the entire thing then. It was constructing the tunnel segment under the road, but no connections.
right.
So we started looking at the possibility of adding connections to it, and we're only gonna get $4.2 million, and I don't believe that'll cover it.
So we were gonna have a tunnel to nowhere.
We were gonna have a bridge to nowhere under the ground. But on the bright side, we were thinking about trying to get it built during the CFI construction, which makes it a lot cheaper.
Can you give, I understand council has some concerns about the bike lanes and things like that. I think ARC called today and they want to move forward with the town hall meetings presenting it. Can we come up with just a list of everything imaginable that we can maybe get some input from the public
Yes, ma'am.
at those town hall meetings?
We can, without any trouble at all.
Any other questions for Mr. Davis?
The county is gonna work to get whatever projects we're gonna have sooner rather than later on that, so we do need to kind of maybe look at it a little bit more. Currently on that list, on that 15%, those bike paths are still on there, as is the tree lane, but, you know, I think we wanted to look at some other options with that. So we may wanna do that, but, also, on several other of the communities are putting together a map with all of their SPLOST projects and then what the TIA projects would be within their city. In addition to that, they were trying to look at which ones had impact on their cities and incorporate that into their town hall meetings, just so that we can talk to people so it's more global rather than just what we're trying to do right in here. But obviously, the things we're planning to do with resurfacing and all that needs to all be incorporated into that plan.
And when we get through with our run through tomorrow, then we're gonna start putting that information on a graphic for you so that you can show it for the town hall meeting.
So,
Can
so
you
at
email
this
it?
point, I'm sorry.
Can you email that out to council as soon as you have something working?
Yes, ma'am.
So really at this point, it's on staff to get that information to council before anything
Yeah.
moves forward.
Okay, retreat, Mr. Howard, Councilman Howard.
The last conversation, I guess, the communication we had about our second retreat, or our goal setting, you know, that type of retreat. Mr. Treadway kind of tentatively set June 1st and 2nd, and I just, not hearing anything about that anymore about it, I don't think that weekend's gonna work.
So I had told him those dates weren't good for me, and I think he was waiting until we found
Okay.
out what was going on with the city manager.
Okay.
Find out what to set
So
up.
I just wanted to make sure that that was off the, we weren't, all of a sudden, we got a couple of dates there and we didn't know that. That was really all on that.
Open meetings.
Okay,
Councilman Bryant.
for the benefit of Mr. Fowler, we've had some discussions about some open meetings, and I guess the big thing for me, and I'll go back to what I mentioned to Kevin Talon, is I want to be 100% sure with everything that's going on with open meetings, open records, with the new AG, that we're gonna make sure that we're doing everything exactly like we need to do. And I made some reference about, you know, some past meetings. I just wanna make sure we're not in trouble. We won't get in trouble because we maybe did something wrong and we don't wanna do it. So I guess, and you mentioned some open meetings, things that you had requested for work session, Mayor?
I have requested, and I think we talked, Mr. Powell and I discussed this at a May, I think it was on the May 14th work session, or maybe it's still June, that he was gonna do an open meetings 101 once we got the information on the new law. I think the memo got sent out to us from the AG's
Right,
office, and I
right.
think Mr. Powell was gonna give us a
Okay.
briefing on that.
Well, and of course, I just wanted, since, you know, you're here tonight, I wanted to make sure that it was going
I
to be.
appreciate the warning.
Didn't want to.
And y'all have had a history of doing really great. The format that you use to go in and out of executive sessions is a model. The city clerk we've already talked through parts of it,
Okay.
but it's not totally clear yet. The governor signed it so quickly, it became effective upon the signature, and the Senate draft is a little sloppy.
Well, I just want us as a city to be the good example and not the one that's not the bad. You know, I want to do everything but the bad. So I think it's just for everybody's benefit.
We'll get you that.
Anything else?
That's it, thanks.
Interim city manager contract, Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Yes, this is just, this is a carryover from conversations with Kevin. I believe Kevin was working on this. Basically just a contract, so that all parties are in agreement, on exactly what the terms of that contract are with the interim city manager, when the end date is, what the expectations are.
The nomination didn't have an end date, so in order to give, the nomination wasn't contingent upon a contract, so, I mean, the chief can sign one if he wants. I would have to sign off on one, and in order for it to actually be binding, you would have to fire the chief as interim and then reappoint with the condition of a contract. Otherwise, the nomination was not conditioned upon any contract. The chief's not asking for any additional salary at this point in time.
So we would like a contract, that shows an absolute end date. Parameters as far as no hiring or firing, no, I think there's only 3 or 4 things that were mentioned to me. One was an absolute end date. Compensation, if there's any other compensation other than that, I understood that there wasn't, but that would be part of it. The third part was, any expenditures over and above daily operating costs would be run by council. There was a 4th one. I'm not sure I have it in an email, I can certainly send it to you, but those are the 4 things that we would like to have.
So are you
in the
saying
contract.
that if the chief doesn't agree to a contract, you're willing to terminate him as interim city manager? Because there was no contract, you guys appointed him or confirmed his nomination without a contract, so no contract would be binding on him at this point in time.
I think it's very bad business to have anyone in that position without a contract. If that's what I have to do and you put me in a position where I'll like to do that, I will have to do what I have to do, but I think it's very important that we have a contract.
Well, he's not asking for an additional salary, so there's no need for a contract unless you're trying to put an end date on his appointment.
Well, I am.
Okay, well, and that was, you appointed him without that condition, so now you're trying to go back and do that.
I never said there would be a contract. I never said that.
But my nomination wasn't conditioned upon a contract.
Okay, then,
And you-
so
you
I
approved
guess
the
you're saying in
nomination.
order for us to get a contract, you're saying that we're gonna have to fire the chief and then rehire him with the contract?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not wasn't my first and, yeah.
It's the
That's a little silly.
the charter has a provision in it that does give council the authority to terminate. I mean, and if y'all want to enter into a contract, you can. You know, it's certainly something that, if proposed, is something to look at and think about. And you know, the terminating authority sort of is, you can do it that way. You can execute termination and then reappoint and then
think it's absolutely unnecessary.
Well, because you're trying to force an end date upon him, so.
Well, why wouldn't there be an end date? He's an interim manager,
Well,
we've got
because
people
the
looking
end
for
date would be
him.
where we find a permanent replacement, but not an end date absolute. You're trying to go back and place an end date absolute like they did with Mr. Brooks, so that if we don't come up with a permanent replacement by that end date, we're back without a city manager.
First of all, I have no idea what happened with Mr. Brooks, I was not here at the time. Okay, all I'm saying is, I believe that we're gonna have our final candidates on June 16th. I'm proposing July 6th, which is almost a month later. I don't think I'm trying to do anything except ensure that everyone is on board. That's all I'm trying to do. But I don't, there's no clandestine, covert actions at all. I'm a businessman. In business, you have contracts. It's just that simple. It's all this is. I'm just setting the dates.
So why would you not share, if you've been working on this contract, why didn't you share that information with the terms and conditions of contract with the rest of the council?
Because we don't have it yet. It's on for discussion tonight.
Okay, but you
We're
said
not going to an action on
You
it.
said you've been working with this with Mr. Talent. Why didn't you
Mr. Talent brought it up.
Why did you discuss the terms and conditions of the contract with the rest of the
Because
council?
Mr. Talent told me he was presenting it. And I didn't find out until last Thursday that he was no longer representing us. So at that point, I contacted Mr. Powell to find out if he had heard about that and asked him to proceed with it. It was, as far as I knew, the attorney was presenting it. And again,
You just said you're proposing an end date of July 6th. Well, you've been working on this contract and that's.
no, I proposed that Thursday. I didn't know what Kevin Talent was proposing. In
Why did
absence
you
of
share
that.
that with the rest of council?
I'm sharing it tonight. It's not, we're not acting on it tonight.
No,
There's
but
no
you're-
contract on this table.
No, but if there's something going on that the attorney's working on and the rest of the council's gonna have to be affected by, and if it's gonna affect our city manager and my appointment, it would be nice
It
if
was-
you would share that with me.
I-
You'd like to say that I don't share information with you, well, it goes both ways.
I don't think that's even a fair statement. We bought it, I put it on for discussion tonight. I haven't discussed it with anybody, except with the attorney. And tonight, I'm bringing it up to council. There's no contract, there's no draft. We're discussing it. I believe that's what this work session is, discuss these items.
So can we discuss, you said there's some conditions you wanted to put on, but you didn't know what they were, and then you later said that the end date was July 6th. So what other conditions do you know about that
I
we're
just said,
discussing?
they just stated them.
Okay, but you also stated you didn't know what the end date was, and then you came back
I
later
didn't
and
say,
said July
no,
6th.
no, ma'am, I
You
did not.
said an end date.
Ma'am,
The
I
first
never
time-
said, we can look at the videotape, don't put words in my
The
mouth. I
first
never
time
said
you
I
said
didn't know what the
end
end
date.
date was.
The first
I
time-
always knew what the end date that I had in mind was. I never said it was, don't put words in my mouth.
The first time you said end date, you didn't
You did.
specify July 6th.
No, I
And
didn't.
then
I
you
just
went
said
back
end
and said
date.
July 6th. So now what other conditions do you know that you're thinking about?
No
that you can
hiring
share
and
with us?
firing, no expenditures without, other than daily operations, without the council's notification, the end date, and no additional compensation, or if there is additional compensation, whatever that is specified in the contract. Those are the four things.
Okay.
It's not, that's a,
Okay, have you thought about additional compensation?
no, because I was told there wasn't any.
There's not any, but I didn't know if you brought that up. Are you offering him any, or would you like to offer him any, or is there?
I'm not gonna be cross-examined by you, Mayor.
We're,
I think I've made myself very clear.
no, we're on here for, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Witt,
No,
that is very
I'm not-
inappropriate.
No, it's not. I'm not gonna be cross-examined. This isn't a courtroom. I'm not gonna be
I'm
cross-examined.
not
That's what it
cross-examining,
is.
I'm
Yes,
trying to
you are.
discuss the contract that you have in mind.
I just said it. That's it.
Okay,
I'm
I'm trying
done.
to get specifics on, well, I'm not done discussing until you don't get to make the rules.
I get the answer, but I'm not.
Okay, all right, well, let it be clear that you refuse to discuss the contract.
I did not refuse to discuss it. I've just discussed it.
Moving on, banners for the farmer's market. Has anybody talked to the DDA about this? I'll take that as a no. They previously ran, I guess, is the farmer's market asking to put banners on the light poles or on,
These are for the existing pole lights
right,
around the city.
the DDA previously ran that program, so I would just ask that we talk to the DDA about that. And also with Walt EMC, because I know we had some issues in the past that Walt
These are
EMC.
going on.
These are going on the city lights.
poles that we
On
put
our
up.
light poles,
Yeah.
so that's what I was asking, are they going
my understanding is they're going to the same place the Christmas flags,
Right,
the same places. I mean, is that
we're
something
not
the
selling anything.
DDA has to
I just
approve
didn't wanna
that?
step up, they had previously done a banner pole, light pole banner program in the city, so I didn't want
Yeah,
to
but that was on the
step on their
wall, that was
toes
on
by
the
doing
wall
it.
EMC.
Right, it was on the wall
That-
EMC, that's why I
that
asked
would
about
be
light poles.
Something to be totally different.
Right.
So do we still need to check with DDA because these are our poles, or are we okay with that?
Yeah,
We're okay with farmer's market doing that?
so do we wanna put that on the next council meeting?
Is it something that has to come before, I mean, I don't think we came before council for the Christmas parade.
Those are our city banners. So yes, the next council.
Yes,
meeting.
absolutely, yeah.
You get one?
Yeah.
LCI, Billy, we will come back for exec session afterwards.
Sure.
We cannot take a vote in exec session, that was that, correct?
There's a certain things you can, it depends on what Billy wants to talk about, and what authority you want to give. You can do authority to negotiate contracts in executive session.
This is for council.
All right, we are adjourned.